Hello everyone, welcome to the next edition. This is day 4, 5, and 6 of the building of my Barndominium, and this is actually New Year's Eve, December 31st that I'm filming this. January 1st tomorrow they'll be back to work on New Year's Day. They've had some things that slowed them down a little bit because there's a new technique with the soffits and overhang on this building, and so they're running a little bit behind, but I believe they're doing an excellent job for the cost that it's costing for the building and labor. And I'm going to go over that with you. Some people want to know what the package cost and the labor cost, the land cost, and the different things. So I've got another video that will be coming out here. Oh, I'm not for sure when, but I will edit it. It goes all the way back from when I bought the property in June, even signing the paperwork, the grade work, the septic tank, the water line, getting the temporary power pole in, things like that. I'm going to go into the detail with the concrete, the pouring, the footers, the plumbing. That's not going to be necessarily in this video, but I'm going to give you some cost of those things. In upcoming videos, we're going to back up and show you from the beginning and the process, and then talk about those things a little bit individually as we go through. So the building size is 24 foot wide and 60 foot long, 24 by 60. The wall height there at the edge that you see is 15 foot tall, and I don't know, it might be 22, 23 foot in the peak. I'm not for sure. I'm going to get them to measure that for me. My plans is to put a bedroom or an office upstairs in the back of it, have plenty of room in the garage area that'll just be heated space, and the back will have a bathroom downstairs and a laundry room downstairs, a bedroom upstairs, and that's the plan. Now I'm here in East Tennessee. I'm in a local town, my hometown of La Follette, Tennessee. That's my address. I'm outside the city limits, but we still have to have building codes. Everything has to be inspected. All the plumbing, the footer, the building will be inspected at some point with different things, the electrical, and you have to have building permits for all that. So some people ask, how did you find your land, John? I found the land on Zillow.com. I put in the area I was looking for, and every day as new things would come out, it would pop up and notify me. So I got first notice on that and was able to buy this property 7 or 8 days after it came on the market. The purchase price was $27,000. They was asking $29,900. I offered $27,000. They took it. Closing costs at the bank to borrow the money was about $1,200. Title insurance $165. And then there was water tap and sewer tap fees, which means where the city of La Follette comes out and they tap into the water and the sewer and make a connection so you can get water and put your sewer back into the sewer line. And that's one of the costs that I talked about on a previous video, was not planning on having to put in what's called a pump septic system. It has a 1,000-gallon tank and a pump that pumps the excess water in a 1-inch line into a pressurized system. So if you're looking for property, there's certain utilities that sometimes are available and sometimes are not. So many people want unrestricted property, but most of the time an unrestricted property is going to be farmland somewhere out in the country. Probably is going to have electricity, but are you going to have to put a well in? Are you going to have to put a septic tank in? What are you going to have to do on your utilities? Are you going to have to do a lot of grade work? And a lot of the property in Tennessee is hilly. It's not very level. So you're going to do a lot of excavating work also that you got to count in. And I'm going to give you a total of this as we get down towards the bottom of it. But the water and sewer tap fee was $1,800, $1,810. There was some other fees at the electric department for permits, I believe, but I'm not for sure. Temporary power pole, $600. I got that used. And then I had added a plug-in onto that that's probably not in here. A lot of little things I didn't add into these totals, but I think it was $150, $200 to add my 30-amp power plug so I could plug my motorhome into my temporary pole. They generally charge about $200, electrician does, to come out and wire up one box, and then your parts and labor on top of that. That's their labor. There's a lot of little things in here. Oh, here's an electrical permit that I was thinking about $175. Another permit with the state of Tennessee, $100. Actually, that's a consultation fee that they'll come out and talk to me and tell me what I need to do. And then there's another building permit of $450 that covers the electrical and plumbing and everything else. And depending on if I put a 200 amp breaker box or 400 amp, I paid for 200 amp, but I'm going to talk to the electrician. I might go with 400 amp because I am going to be building on at some point where you see these sliding doors in back here. I'm going to build on a residential looking part there that has a bedroom, living room, kitchen, and a big wraparound porch all the way around. That's coming on the second phase. So I might need a 400 amp breaker box because I like a lot of plug-ins, I like a lot of lighting, and I run a lot of electronics. There's a variety of things in here. Some things that I spent a lot of money on during the summer trying to get grass growing as the excavating was done, and we had a drought, and I spent, believe it or not, $1,000, $1,500 in grass seed and straw that pretty much was wasted because I tried to water the grass, and it would work, but I'm on city sewer, and they charge you for every $45, I think on the last bill of water I used, is $60 in sewer. So when I pump $45 of water out onto the grass, I get charged $60 on the sewer fee, even though it's not going into the sewer. So I tried not to do that too much because it ran my electric and water bill up quite a bit, living in just this motorhome full time. Yeah, so there's grass seed on here a lot, different things. One of the things that cost it that I wasn't expecting was putting in that septic tank. I thought I was going to be able to hook into gravity fed sewer. So just the tap fee, and because the sewer I thought was right below me right here, they have a pump station, but what happens is that pump station pumps it pressurized right up through my property on across into the other property. So that was $8,000. That's $5,000 just the materials pretty much on that, and then excavating fees and so forth. I paid Charlie $2,100 the first time on the work he did on excavating and putting in the septic tank, and then gravels came for the driveway. That was 2 loads at $525 a piece. That's $1,050. Then RV plugs and sewer pump cords that I went back and bought. Walmart underground wire and plug that I used to hook up my utility building in the back. I've got the little storage building. I put a washing machine in there, so I had to have that. Here's moving my shed, my storage shed here. Y'all might have saw that video. Again, I paid Charlie again to come out and do excavating work of some sort. I'm not for sure. He'd come back at several different times and I'd try to pay him, and he did a good job and charged me a reasonable price. I had to have a survey done between the property lines. I didn't do a complete survey, but just to find the property line. And that actually came out pretty cheap. Dwight Crutchfield did that, a local guy here, $135 on that, and he came out and did that pretty quick for me. So yeah, we've went through a lot of small expenses that I passed over those, didn't go over them, but then we're going to start getting into some more of the more expensive stuff here. So up till about July 18th, I totaled up about $42,000 on the expenses at that point. Now you're wondering, what else? Got the concrete pad, the footers, the excavating of that, the digging of the footers, hauling off of dirt, the plumbing that went in there. So the footers, the concrete in the footers, pouring those concrete footers costed me more than originally expected because it was done, the footers were done when it was going to rain. It rained for 3 days, and then the inspector came out to look at the footers and went past the footers and made us dig them 3 foot deeper on the lower end. So that was $1,800 more. If we just waited a couple of days and let it dry up, probably wouldn't have had to pay that, but extra deep digging and more concrete. So just the footers, concrete, was $6,620. The digging of the footers with the excavator was $750. Hauling off dirt from the footers was another $300. Putting the plumbing in probably came to about $1,400, the under the slab plumbing. Rick Irwin's a retired plumber that watches the channel, and you'll see a lot of that. We're going to go back up and show him putting some of the plumbing in on more videos coming up in the future. So we're going to kind of go back in time. So there was about $1,400 in plumbing, and then there was the pouring of the concrete pad, which ended up to be $8,370. And the concrete pad, the 24 by 60 concrete pad, ended up with the digging of the footers and hauling off the dirt of the footers, probably a little over about $16,000 for the concrete pad. That's a 4-inch thick pad in the middle, and on the sides it's got 6 inches. The pad is a little unlevel, and it was a little smaller than the 24 inches. It was a 1/2 inch small, but nothing that couldn't be worked with. The levelness of it's given us a little problems on the sliding doors. So it's important that when you do the concrete on these, that you get somebody that's going to get that completely as level as possible. So we got the concrete pad, the footers and the dirt, about $16,000. And then the building itself comes as a package from Troyer Post Buildings in Monterey, Tennessee. And they hook you up with a building crew. You don't have to go out and find somebody that's never built one of these and has no clue what's going on. But they have 14 crews that are independent. They do not work for Troyer, but Troyer trains them how to build the specific buildings. And this was one of the buildings that had to come out and do some training on the soffit, how to connect the wood to the metal and build the wood soffits. And Nate Troyer came out, I think on day 3, you can see that on the last video, and he came out and showed them how to build one corner so then they can build the rest of the corners and know what they were doing. So the building materials itself was $22,800 in the package. Now they did forget and leave off my insulation, the white stuff that you see. That's an R9 wrap. It's not a lot of insulation, but it's a little bit. I will definitely be doing spray foam in the residential part of it when I build that. So then we get into, so $22,800 for the material to build this complete building. That's the metal, the trim, the wood, the post, screws, brackets, and everything that they needed, but it does not include the windows and doors. I bought windows and doors separate. They are 10 windows that I bought from Home Depot. They range, they're vinyl windows. They're not metal. Metal would have been a little bit better, a little bit nicer. I went with a little bit cheaper windows because this is not a high-end type build. This is really an overglorified motorhome garage. So, that I'm going to be living in as residential too. That's why it's called a Barndominium. Now we've talked about Barndominiums a little bit, and we're seeing so much interest in these videos that I've been posting that we're going to continue making videos on other people's projects. And you know, to me right now, I think people's calling anything a Barndominium as long as it's got metal on the siding. For many, many years, they've been replacing old roofs with metal, and we'll have a black metal roof up here. But for many years, they've started replacing old shingle roofs with metal. But now they're starting to build residential houses with metal siding also. And they're calling those a Barndominium. Most of the time, that's your 2 main factors, is you got a metal roof and metal siding. The third factor I'm seeing, and I'm no expert, I'm learning, and I love comments, and in the different areas they call things different things, even in the construction of it. But then you're going to typically see in a Barndominium a concrete floor, concrete slab. And then in a true Barndominium, you're going to see it being done with 6x6 posts, and like what I'm doing. But there's some what I call hybrids. I'm going to call it a hybrid Barndominium, where they're actually just building the walls out of 6x6 studs, and not even using the 2x6 studs. They're using 2x6s to build the walls with, and not even using the 6x6 posts. The 6x6 post and the trusses and the way they put the purlins across from there gives you the advantage of this is it's a lot cheaper if you're needing storage space. If you need a place like what I do for a motor home, or you've got cars or motorcycles or ATVs, And you need a lot more storage space for those vehicles than you do living in, like me. I've got to get my motorhome under roof or it's going to deteriorate. And I'm going to have a video coming up of a cost that most people never anticipate when they buy a motorhome. And let me tell you, a lot of people think, I'm going to sell my house and live in a motorhome, it's going to be cheaper. Absolutely, totally not. It's going to cost you double. My water and electric bill for me living in this by myself for the last month was $316. I'm running 2 little heaters, and because they're not insulated very well for winter, the heaters run all the time, and it's not cheap to live in one. And I'm going to get into a whole thing about expenses that, on another video about living in a motorhome that people don't think. It's very handy for me because I work out of it. But if I was just using this motorhome a couple of weeks a year, no, I couldn't afford this, no way. So we had the building, I said $22,800, then they left off the insulation, that was another $1,084. Now that don't count labor, that's just the materials. I'm gonna get to labor in a minute. So once they delivered the building here, I had to get my windows and doors, because that was the installation of the windows and doors, all except the garage door was included in my package price on the labor. So I had to go out and buy what windows I can find, and I got three different sizes windows. That's what I could find, and they built them to fit exactly the way for that size to fit in there. So windows, 10 windows ended up $3,361. They ran anywhere from $280 to $220. Then there are the doors. You got 2 sliding doors. And another thing that's cost more is I'm using black outside trim. They're black on the outside and white on the inside. To find black doors and windows is very hard. Now the back exterior door, I could not find that in black, but it can be painted black. It's wood. So I'm not too worried because you're not going to sit in the back. So windows and doors, well, the doors was $1,943, and I did get a discount off that door from Lowe's when I was buying it a little bit. Then there's the garage door that's got to go in. That's ordered. That's a 12 by 13 high. That's bigger than I need for my motorhome, but I built the garage bigger, I built the door bigger and higher in case I buy a bigger motorhome in the future, it will fit in there. The total labor for them to put that out, there's usually a 4-man crew out here working every day. They've been 6 days into it. They drive an hour to get here, and I know it's probably a little windy on here. Here's some wind blowing, but hopefully it's not too bad on the audio. The labor is $12,686, and that's including the insulation, putting the insulation on too. That price was a little bit lower, but there was a $1,300 charge once they added the installation onto my package. They just left that off by mistake. When they delivered everything, the insulation wasn't there. It's $2,480 total material and labor, but I pay Dorian when he's done because he don't work for Troyer, he's his own crew. So I'll write a check out to him for this $12,686. So that's what I got figured. I haven't paid that yet. That's going to be paid. And another thing that I haven't paid is the electrical, and I'm going to have electrical put in as soon as possible. I think I got enough money to have the interior electrical put in, so I'll go ahead and get my electrical on, and then I'm going to see about maybe getting gas heat to heat the whole building for this winter, and that way I'll stay nice and warm in there in that motorhome. And so without the electrical, the shell, the concrete, the labor, the excavating, the septic tank, the water, the sewer line, the temporary pole, the gravel, underground plumbing and everything so far, and I've left a lot of small stuff out that I've had to go, that you would never imagine that you got to go get this and that and everything. A lot of odd end things I left out, but I'm at $105,546, and that is 1,440 square foot downstairs. Upstairs, I'm not for sure how my height's going to work out. I now wish I went another foot higher to 16 foot now that I'm looking at it, but I'm not going to be using the front part that you except for the motorhome. That's going to be open garage space or carport space really for me right now. So yeah, we're going to go and look at some of the footage of them putting some of this trim on and a few things. This was filmed on the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, some of the stuff that you're seeing coming up. But I wanted to give you these totals and you can see some of the work. And there've been some people make comments that seen these go up and think that Dory and the crew's doing great. Then you've always got people that say, look at that, they didn't even do something. Well, they ain't done with it yet. They're like, look at that gap around the window. Well, they hadn't put the trim around it. So a lot of people speak before and think, well, they didn't do something. Well, they haven't got there yet. So they're still working on it. I feel like for the 12,000 some odd dollars here, $12,686 for the labor, I think it's an excellent deal. They get a price. They can take the job if they want to, or they can say, no, we don't feel like we want to build that for that price. So nobody's forcing them to do anything or making them work by the hour or come in on New Year's Day tomorrow. They're independent contractors and work for themselves. And they're doing a great job, and they worked in the rain one day when it rained all day long. You know what? They didn't complain. They didn't carry on. They showed up for work that I didn't think they was going to come, but they showed up on Tuesday and it rained all day, and they didn't even quit early. They just kept on working till dark, and they do that every day. So let's look a little bit at some of the footage for the last few days, and I'll be right back.
Got it. Muscle. Leave it. Hopefully some park up. Park out. Okay. Got it. You got it. Very poquito. Good. 41. Revoir. Me rajé. Izquierda un poquito. Arriba, izquierda un poquito. Sí, arriba. Arriba. Todos, todos. Todos. Bueno, 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 bueno. Bajo en los negros. Bajo. Bueno. Todos bajo. Ok. Mira posta. Hey, tú necesitas un poquito de izquierda. Aquí. Bueno. Fierro, un tornillo. Aquí. Sí.
Ya perdí con mi taladro.
¿Sí?
Que mientras. Quédate la máquina. Esta la máquina ya.
Si quiere darle para adelante y ya.
La máquina va.
No va a fallar.
Sí.
Queda retirado.
Estoy muy retirado. Puede clavar, está muy retirado.
Compromiso. Múvete. Múvete, tabla. Múvete, tabla. Sí. Bueno. Aquí un poquito, Carlos. Aquí. Haz tu más. Sí, un poquito allá.
Fíjate. Ok. Las 4. Que va a ser lo mismo. Quedan puntitas. ¿Qué por acá?
Ajá. Ahí está.
Ahí está. Ok. 4. Quiere un poquito para atrás.
¿Le quitas la capucha también?
No, pero aquí lo hacemos con broca.
Ah, no.
Está en la caja. Está el taladro. Marcas. Marcas no. Marca no.
Necesito marca aquí.
¿Por qué no?
Sí.
Es 14 pies.
Bueno,
Ya.
aquí. Es todos. ¿Cuántos? 150, sí.
165 3/4.
65, 3/4.
El de arriba era 14 pies, ¿va?
Ya.
No es el de 14 foot.
14 pies.
Te doy uno aquí. Sí. Que te aguanta aquí bien. Te aguanta ahí la lámina. ¿Está bien ahí, José?
Bueno, ok. Derecha, mira, bueno.
Sí.
No está a nivel aquí.
Póngale
Tiro,
otro ahí.
derecha, aquí, bueno.
Sí.
Sí.
A ver.
Llegó.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing Dory and the crew work there. I didn't get a lot of footage the last few days for it, day 4, day 5, and day 6. That's the reason I crammed them all into one video. I know there's people wanting to see other specs of the trusses and different things, how they were bolted in, and that does show that on day 1, or day 2, I think, how the trusses was bolted in. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. Man, I want to say thank you to everybody that subscribed to the channel during these Barndominium videos I've been doing. We've been getting a lot of subscribers, and I think that's because there's just a tremendous interest now in Barndominiums and living in them. It's just a different type lifestyle. It's a different look. Mine looks like a garage more right now than it does a residential home. But I did do, somebody asked, what pitch roof did I put on here? And I'm not able to get, I get about 400 to 500 comments a day, so I can't answer those all. But the pitch is a 612. I put a 612 pitch on there to give it a little bit more steeper angle, to give it a little bit more residential look. And also another thing that I bought that was extra was I bought the cupolas that will go on top, 2 of the cupolas there, and they'll put those on top. And I think those are really neat, and they'll have eagles on them. I don't know where the eagles are at right now. I don't see them. Hopefully they're in a package somewhere, but they're supposed to have eagles that go on them. And so that was a little bit of extra expense, but make sure to subscribe to the channel if you hadn't. And you know, I travel this year. This is the last day of this year, and I was in 6 different states. I had the privilege of being in 6 different states to film. I was all the way up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I filmed the Shady Maple smorgasbord up there. That was a treat. Seems like I love filming restaurants and people like seeing the food. Got to be in Mount Airy a couple times this year in North Carolina. I was actually in North Carolina 3 times this year. I was in Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Pennsylvania. I can't think of all of them, but I know I was in 6 states filming this year, and it's been a great honor and privilege to get to meet the people I do and to document their lives and their businesses and their stories and history. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that I got to visit this year and meet, and hope to meet you all again and see you again this coming year in 2024 and make a whole lot more new friends. I'm John Moore with the Appalachian Channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.